I now call this meeting to order. May I have a roll call, please? Ms. Whitcamp?
Alan Getty?
Yes.
James
Oh,
Evans?
here, I got it.
Hope
Here.
Morales?
Yes.
Mona Kirk?
Yes.
Hilda Sanchez?
Here.
All right, we have a pledge of allegiance by the students from Sunset Elementary.
Good evening, school board members, Superintendent Gottlieb. We are honored to be here this evening, and we want to celebrate what our school is known for, which is multiculturalism and multilingualism. So our student council members are here to honor the population of students that we have that are deaf and hard of hearing as well. So if you will, please be patient as we go through and do all of those things, as they have been practicing very diligently and are so excited about showcasing those efforts this evening. I do want to present very quickly our sponsors, which are Ms. Julie Dominguez and Ms. Ginger Wilcom, and our student council.
I would like to also just add the names. This is Miss Selene Ramos. This is Jaslyn Gallo, Juliana Mendiola, Gabriela Kermode, Aron Iglesias, and Sergio Rodriguez. Thank you, guys. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Juro fidelidad a la bandera de los Estados Unidos de América y a la república que simboliza una nación bajo Dios, indivisible, con libertad y justicia para todos. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. In the state of New Mexico flag, you'll hold your hand out. I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico, the Zia symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures. Saludo a la bandera de los Estados de Nuevo México, el símbolo Zia de amistad perfecta entre culturas unidas. For this one, I just have two students that I would like to showcase to do the state pledge.
I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico, the Zia symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures.
Thank you so much.
I'll say fist bump, so I'll go with the Good job.
Okay, now we have an adoption of the agenda. Are there any modifications to the agenda?
Mr. President, members of the board, I'd like to add two things for the superintendent's informational item in the very back. One will be the parent stakeholder feedback information on the laid-in, and a recommendation for you that I'm going to send out, and an additional report on the virus that I had conversation with CDC today and Department of Health.
These modifications here?
Yes. We also have two other modifications to the agenda. Executive session, additional action items related to executive session will be need to change superintendent's evaluation and contract to acting superintendent's evaluation and contract.
Okay. All right. Okay, may I have a motion to approve as modified?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Second. I have a motion made by Ms. Kirk and a second made by Ms. Sanchez. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. The ayes have it, and the motion is carried. Let's begin with recognition.
Mr. Carter, come on up, please.
Board members, I want to thank you for recognizing my students. If I have any that are out here, I know that a lot of the ones that I wanted to come, they are of that age where they can get jobs and they got vehicles, so they're trying to earn money to pay for the gas to get themselves to and from school and those things to help out their families. So with the short amount of notice with it, a lot of them could not come. They don't want to come.
That's all right, Cody.
Cool.
But you might explain what you did for Roswell High.
We went to Roswell High, and I teach ag structures and construction class, which is basically building construction, carpentry, a level 1 course, and one of the projects is framing and learning how to frame and put in flooring and that end of it, and got to talking with one of the administrators and Coach Lynn, and they had got some seats out of Epic Theater, and so okay, let's make a theater for the film room for the students in there, and so we designed it. They got the materials for us, so it was a hand-in-hand job. Gives my kids experience on how to frame. They did the walls just like they would be in any other structure. Framed the floors in the construction, and then we mounted all the seats, fasteners, hardware, put on the siding, built guardrails. All those were just items that would be checked off when you're actually doing the construction class, and it gave is a win-win situation. I basically used 3 of my classes to do that, approximately about 75 of my students.
And board members, as you see the picture that I just showed, what a nice construction it was and how it really added to the building. So, Mr. Carter, we want to thank you very much
Thank you.
for your work and your students' work. So thank you very much.
I appreciate
Thank you
it.
so
Great
much.
job.
Very nice. Pass them down and toss them.
All your work.
Hey, good job.
It's okay, we can give it to them.
Kathy Adams, would you please come up and introduce your person tonight for recognition?
President Getty, members of the board, Superintendent Gottlieb, thank you so much for letting us honor this amazing man. And he has, come on up, you're the star of the hour. He has been at Military Heights for 20 years as our crossing guard, and he has only missed 2 days, and it was for the passing of 2 of his family members. He has not missed a day. He did hear about another crossing guard in the United States that had passed away from being run over. He wore a flower for that person, that gentleman. He takes his job very serious. He's there before I am or right when I arrive every day. The kids absolutely love him, so do the parents, and he takes his life in his hand every day because it is dangerous out there. He puts the cones out for us every morning, and he is just a jewel. He helps homeless in our town, and couldn't be anybody better to honor tonight. So from Military Heights and the board, thank you so much.
Was married to his sister. Thank you. She got
started 21 years ago to help because your child was a student there.
Yeah, he
And-
said there wasn't a
Yep.
cross code.
Yep. And so he committed, okay, I'll do this while my son is a student at Military Heights. And that has long passed. And you have had 2 of my children there that you kept safe. And I know you do it without any type of monetary or anything. So please know, as a parent that sees you every morning, thank you very much.
Mr. Getty, this next one I'm going to introduce. I know that the principal is here from that school, and an ex-principal is also here from that school, but it's really my pleasure to introduce this next young man. I think most of us know Mr. Hunter. He works for the school district. Mark, will you come up, Mr. Hunter, please? Yay! But before he became a district employee, he volunteered. I cannot tell you how many times he volunteered and all the people. He's the first person everybody sees when you go to Mesa. And we even have a nickname for him, and this comes from Jennifer Cole, and I know it's correct, Mr. Sunshine. So Rudy, thank you so much for everything you do. You should be the star of representing our school district. So thank you very much for everything you do.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. One of my students.
Rudy, one of many.
And just to keep up with what's going on, Dios te bendiga.
Our next one is another pleasure. We have school awards for Teacher of Character. So all of our teachers that are character, if you're here, will you please come and line up in the front?
Do you like, look that way?
The one with over it? Yeah, I remember when I first started it.
Our first one is 8 years from Pecos, Julie King. Yay! Julie. Our next one is Crystal O'Connor. She was at Brendo Elementary. Now she's teaching algebra at Roswell High. 7 years, Nadine Brady from Mountain View. From Valley View, Shelley Dunaway. From Sierra, Rick Smith. Not here. Brendo Elementary, Stacy Ware. 6 years, Sierra, Kathy Briggs. From Del Norte, Natalie Duncan. She's not here. From Sunset, Joshua Escamali. From Del Norte, Tamara Helpstetter. Thank you. From East Grand Plains, Krista Letko. From Pecos, Carolyn Martinez. From Del Norte, Ellie Mundy. East Grand Plains, Angel Munoz. Munson, excuse me, sorry, Angel, I am sorry. I'm going to hear about that one. East Grand Plains, Katie Voss. And we had some special awards for entries from Mesha Letitia Taring. From Military Heights, Andrea Udi. From Del Norte, Natalie Duncan. And from East Grand Plains, Crystal Lethgo. Teachers, thank you very much for representing our district. Please come on up.
And Mr. Gottlieb, just one point of context for the audience. For the Teachers of Character, Roswell had about 350 teacher nominees. So the teachers in front of us today were the top 12 out of those 350.
Yes, now we have some informational items.
Mr. President, members of the board, it's my greatest pleasure to have the Mesa Middle School students of the Avid program have a demonstration and talk to you a little bit of what they're doing in class. Please come on in. It's been really a pleasure to watch these kiddos at schools. I've visited all the Avid programs, watch what they're doing in the classroom, see what the teachers are handling with kids. It is a very impressive sight. What most people don't realize, it's not just the teachers that are working with these kids. 7 to 9 classrooms have to agree to participate in this entire program. It's quite extensive and very lengthy. So, Melanie Estrada, come on up, girl. You're not getting away. I knew you were.
Well, my name is Melanie Estrada. I'm the Avid coordinator / teacher at Mesa Middle School. And my students were able to go to Avid Appreciation Day in Santa Fe. And so they just wanted to come and let you know about their experience and how that's helped them and just what it was like to go to Santa Fe.
And your program is outstanding.
Thank you.
I
Thank you. It's
enjoyed-
not me. It's not me. It's all them.
Oh, it starts with somebody.
My name is Emily Montoya, and Avid has impacted me in many ways. I always was a good student, but felt there were more ways to improve my academic area. In Avid, I have learned to take Cornell notes in my classes and collaborate with my peers. I have also learned to use Wicker. Every Tuesdays and Thursdays, we do TRFs, and these help me learn more about different subjects. And now that I am in Avid, I have a dream of going to college. Avid has took me and my classmates to Santa Fe to see the Capitol building. It is the only round Capitol. Inside was the House of Senate and the House of Representatives. Thank you for letting me speak to you today.
Hello, everyone. My name is Alex Castro, and when I went to the only round Capitol, I was so amazed. I looked like a kid in a candy shop. It was fun getting a tour of the Capitol, but the exciting and nervous part was speaking upon Avid and how Avid has affected me. Thank you for giving me the time to talk, and thank you, Avid.
Hello, everyone. My name is Seth Crouchman. Avid has helped me by staying organized and taking notes. Avid has been a big help to me because I never really took notes in my classes and I really did not like school. Now that they brought Avid to Mesa this year, I was like, what's Avid? And then they explained what Avid was and I started taking notes and doing TRFs. And I was like, this is really fun. Avid has helped me use Wicker in the classroom. Thank you for listening to me.
My name is Elijah Dutchover. Avid is helping me because my binder was messy. Now it helped me be organized. Also, tutorials are helping me to do schoolwork. Thank you for having me and have a good night.
Hi, my name is Lindsay Gamble, and the Avid trip is really fun. There was so much art there, and I love art. I had to take so many pictures, and I just hope that anybody else who wants to can go and enjoy it. It's a great experience. Thank you, Avid.
Hi, my name is Annika Vijo. Avid changed my life by making me feel like I have another family. Also, it helped me be organized. I learned a lot from Avid, like taking notes, doing TRFs, and doing my best in everything. In classes that I'm usually not good in, taking notes helped me raise my grade. Thank you for your time.
Through the beginning of my experience with Avid, I have been able to better manage my busy schedule, maintain a GPA above a 3.0, and be involved at home as much as I am at school. I've gone to the capital of New Mexico for the first time with Avid, and additionally, see the Roundhouse and celebrate the coming of National Avid Day. The empowerment I've received from Avid has helped me believe that I can turn all my dreams and aspirations into a reality, and that anybody can put their past behind them and make a better future for themselves and people around them. Thank you for allowing my thoughts be heard today, and please think thoroughly over continuing Avid, and have a good evening.
So thank you for allowing us to come today, and again, thank you for allowing us to go to Avid. So these kids, like I said, I think probably maybe one or two out of the 40 that we took had ever been, and then to get to celebrate Avid Appreciation Day and see the other teachers, meet the directors, and see schools all across New Mexico. And like when she said about being an Avid family, they've learned that their Avid family is not just Roswell, it's across the country and it's worldwide. So thank you.
Awesome.
Keep it up. Thank you. Good job. Good job. Keep it up. Good job. Good job. Keep it up. Good job. Awesome. Good job. Good job, guys. Oh, you're going far. Good job. Good job. Good job, sir. Keep it up. So proud. Congratulations. Eso. Congratulations. Thank you. Yes. Thank you. You're doing such an awesome job. No, that's okay.
You know who started the Avid program, right? You know who brought the Avid program to Roswell? Gatsby.
Yeah, Ms. Racone. I was at Mesa a couple weeks ago, and I went through the band area, and they were doing some neat activities, and I saw their drums out, and I said, this is one of my more favorite ones, because Roswell High and Audit used to have this too, and I said, would you mind presenting to our board, because this is something really, really different. If you haven't seen it, it's outstanding, so I hope you all enjoy this. Candace, whenever you're ready.
It's about to get. They did this for. They did it at the Veterans of Mexico.
transitioning real quick, go ahead and shake hands, please. While they're transitioning, I do want to explain to everybody in this room what this group is.
Oh, that was awesome.
Am I allowed to speak over here too?
Good job.
Yeah, just, there you go.
Yeah. This is the Drumming for Hope group. We started it numerous years ago, as many of you guys know, because many of you guys have seen us and supported us over the years.
Good job.
We started this when my niece at the age of 4 got cancer, then my grandmother at the age of 92, and then every tag that I wear around my neck is a family member who's gotten cancer. Last year I added my dad. 1 month ago I added my mother-in-law. So with that being said, these kids go out, they play as many performances as possible for donations, and then every single penny we get donated over to us, we then donate back to the Chaves County Cancer Fund from the Roswell Independent School District. So I'm actually going to surprise you guys with one more performance as soon as they decide they're going to come in. We like to perform on many, many different items, so those who may not have instruments at home, they can get creative. They can use that creative brain and that creative mind. And a lot of the stuff, we just do jam sessions and we're like, oh yeah, we like that and stuff. So this is my next group, and I'm gonna let them take it away. And thank you always for your support. And I'm booking right now for Drumming for Hope elementary principals.
I want to do that. You're going to have to teach me how to do that. Good job. You're okay. Good job. Good job. Good job. Awesome. Awesome work. I bet that's hard. Good job. Good job. Oh, no. You have to be the leader, I'm sure. Good job. Good job. Good job. Oh, that was awesome. Good job. Good job, sir. Good job. Keep it up. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you. They do. They've been doing it for years. Yeah, that's amazing.
I seen them before. They do good methods.
They do
Another one of our groups that go out and represent the community extremely well. As a variety of different things you can do. It is so interesting to go around the district and see the different things that are going on. it makes worth leaving the office as often as possible. I was at Washington Avenue this morning. I had a half hour between meetings, so I ran over there, just watching the kids work on their computers, sitting down, talking to them, asking about their math. There was a great lesson that they were working on in 3 different classrooms on segments and lines and area, and it's just wonderful to see what's going on, what the teachers are doing. So thank you, board members. It's been a lot of fun. We have one more tonight. We have Andrea Batista here for a robotics team update. Andrea, you here?
Yes. Moira here for the update.
Okay.
Nice.
Good.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's good. Hello, Mr. President and Interim Superintendent Gottlieb. My name is Martin Pina Rodriguez. I'm a sophomore at Early College High School and co-president of Hangar 84 Robotics Team 7271. And this January, our team came to you to give you our goals and aspirations for the season. And me and my fellow team member, Josue, have come to you to update you on our progress before we head to this competition 2 days from now, Thursday, to Amarillo. And as being co-president, I'm also one of the lead designers for the team. So this means I create banners, this including this banner right here, buttons that Andrea Batista will be passing out to members, and this shirt designs. As you can see, I'm wearing one of the shirt designs that a fellow designer made, Brianna Calciano, another member of the team. And for this season, we'll be wearing a modified version of this t-shirt to competition season. And so everything you see here, the buttons, the shirts, the banners, we make ourselves. It's a student-led group, so we build the robot ourselves, the banners, we printed ourselves, the buttons, we made them ourselves. It started as an idea, and that idea we made to the final products that you see here. And to tell you, and we make these at the iCenter at ANUR. That is our base of operations, that is where we work. And to tell you more about some other aspects of our team, my fellow team member.
Hello, my name is Josue Berrospe, and I am the Secretary of Hangar 84 Robotics Team 7271. And before I begin, I'd like to apologize as our members who represent programming and builds could not be here tonight as they are back at the iCenter finishing our robot. As of today, we have raised enough funds for our first competition trip in Amarillo, Texas, which we leave for this Thursday. We are also on the agenda for later tonight. Being representatives of Roswell Independent School District, we would like to know if you can provide our mode of transportation to our second competition trip in El Paso, Texas, which we leave for in roughly 2 weeks. If you permit us to ask now, we will, or we will wait for the action items.
Okay.
Nice move there, Mike.
You're in trouble.
They asked politely.
Any questions from the board?
And they did get buttons.
I got one question. Are y'all, once you go past if Amarillo and you go to El Paso, what's the next trip?
Well, if we qualify for district, the next trip would be to San Diego, I believe, or.
I'm not sure where the worlds are this year, but the way the robotics works is it's a worldwide organization, First Robotics, and so there's several world locations. Typically, there's one in Austin, and the other is in Detroit. But I think this year they've also placed one in San Diego because it's getting so big. So we're Team 7271. We joined 3 years ago. 7271 simply means we're literally the 7,271st team to join. So I think this year we're somewhere maybe close to low nines, maybe in the 10,000s around the world. So we're part of the first district in Texas. New Mexico does not have enough teams to join or to host their own event. So we're part of the Texas district. So like he said, if we qualify out of district, we'll go to the Worlds, and it'll depend on kind of what region and will either go to Austin, San Diego, or Detroit, and that's where all the other teams, Israel, Egypt, China, Malaysia, everybody else will come to the States for this.
Ms. Batista, what's the time frame? What, of travel? When would that be held?
For Worlds or just for our?
World.
Worlds is typically, oh gosh, last year that was a 2-week turnaround. It's usually the first to second week in April. And so our last competition, so
Wow.
these competitions for First Robotics run for 13 weeks. We are competing in, I believe 13 weeks. We're competing in week 7, which is this upcoming weekend. So there's already been 6 weeks prior of other competitions. And then the Worlds is held pretty much immediately after that. So teams have about 2 weeks to raise funds. So especially for those international teams, they have to raise quick and be ready to go. But
Okay.
typically it's early April.
Okay.
So yeah.
That gives us kind of a timeline.
Well, and they also have to qualify out.
Right.
Their robot has to compete well enough at these 2 district competitions to be able to qualify into the Worlds. Last year they were able to do that.
Yeah.
This year we're a bit stressed, as Josue said, programming and build is still currently in the lab, building and programming.
At this moment, they are there.
So yeah, but that is just the update that we have for you tonight.
Okay.
Any
Thank you.
questions?
Well, good luck.
Great job.
Yes,
Thank you.
good luck.
Good luck.
Got it.
Okay, we will now have inquiries and general comments. Ms. Whitcamp, has anyone requested to speak?
Yes, sir, we have one.
All right. Please listen and speak with respect. No uncivil conduct will be permitted. Please do not discuss any specific student who is not your own. Please do not discuss confidential personnel matters, including those of a disciplinary nature, regarding any RISD employee. This should be discussed with the superintendent or the employee's supervisor. Please self-monitor and observe the 3-minute time limit. You may be given a 30-second warning when your time is almost up. If needed to accommodate a large number of speakers and maintain a reasonable meeting schedule, the time limit for all speakers may be shortened. No sharing of time is permitted. Public commentary and dialogue is only guaranteed during the public forum, not throughout the meeting. Please search for answers on common ground. You may speak on any topic, whether it is on the agenda or not. Your input will be taken into consideration. Please be advised that the board may discuss your issue during the meeting, but by law, the board cannot take action on items that are not on the agenda. For the safety of yourself and others, signs and placards are not permitted in the boardroom. However, you are invited to express your concerns during public forum or submit your concerns to the board in writing.
Good evening, Mr. President Getty and board members and Mr. Superintendent and people in the audience. My name is Marcos Nava. I'm the complete committee chair for the 2020 census. I'm here to talk about 3 things. Number 1 is starting March 12th, Thursday, most households are going to receive an invitation to do their census online. This invitation will be linked to an ID number that will tie that ID to the physical home. Please go ahead and do the census. It's easy. You can do it online, on phone, or depending as to where you live, you will also get a long-form questionnaire. You can fill it out and you can mail it back to the via U.S. mail. The key here is this questionnaire is short, only has 9 questions, and it should only take about 10 minutes to do so. That's the average. The other thing that I'm going to tell you about is that starting on Tuesday, March 17th, and Wednesday, March the 18th, at the public library, there's going to be people from the Census, U.S. Census, working there to help people to fill out the census form. They'll be there all day from 10 o'clock in the morning till 4 o'clock in the afternoon. If you have any questions, if you need assistance, they can come and there'll be staff there to help them during those 2 days. And then also the library will also be doing more helping throughout other times. But people from the National Census Bureau will be there. Lastly, the last thing that I want to talk about, and I hope I do a good job, because I just found out about this last Friday. During our census period, during our 2020 census period, there is another survey that's going around that is tied to the U.S. Census Bureau. This is a survey. It's an extensive survey. It has many, many questions. It will take about an hour and a half to fill out. Don't confuse it with the 9 questions, okay? This survey has been mailed to selected homes. I was told about 2.5% of the homes on a monthly basis in Roswell. So there's 2 separate things. Our census, our 2020 census is important to do, and then the survey is also important data that they gather to define a given community. Thank you so much. Thank you for your time. Yes, Mr. Superintendent.
Marcos, will you talk about the Saturday event?
Yes, thank you, sir. We will be hosting the Complete Count Committee will be hosting an event at the Roswell High School on Saturday, April 25th. It's going to be a place where we invite everyone in Roswell to come and hear about the census. We're going to have delicious tamales, the way my grandmother made them. So we're going to have tamales, and we're going to have drinks, sodas, orange juice, milk, and coffee. We will have entertainment for the young children. We will have DJ music, and we would like for everyone to come and participate and learn about the census, have a good food, and the kids to have a good time. Thank you so much.
All right. Mr. Nova, thank you for representing Roswell on this. You have been almost every place I've gone for a meeting, you've been there. So thank you for all your time and effort.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.
April 25th.
I'm sorry, April 25th.
The time for the Saturday, April 25th, it will start at 9:30, and it will go till the tamales run out.
All right, well, let's move on to the approval of minutes.
Mr. President, members of the board, I recommend approval of the minutes of the regular board meeting of February 11th, 2020.
Are there any corrections, deletions to the minutes of the regular board meeting of February 11th, 2020? If not, may I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same sign. The ayes have it, and the motion is carried. The consent agenda is up now.
Mr. President, members of the board, I recommend approval of the consent agenda, approval of the February bills, authorizing March bills, and approval of March bars.
Is there any discussion? If not, may I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Who was that?
Hilda.
Hilda? Okay, I thought so. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same signs. The ayes have it, and the motion is carried. Next, we have the action items.
Mr. President, our first action item, I would like to make approval of the 2018-2019 financial audit report. Mr. Cole?
Good evening, Board President Getty, Superintendent Gottlieb, members of the board. We have here tonight Mr. Paul Garcia. Paul, you've got some handouts. Would you give those to our board members and superintendent? So Paul works for CRI. They are our independent public accountants. They prepare our financial audit. What you have here before you tonight is the 2018-2019 fiscal year financial audit for the school district. We're very proud of it. A couple of things to note, and then I'll hand this over to Paul for required communications from our auditor, is that we have an unmodified opinion. Now, that's the best opinion you can get in terms of an audit. There were no material weaknesses identified. There were no significant deficiencies identified. Non-compliance of material to the financial statement, none of that identified. There are no audit findings, and I would stress again that this is last year's fiscal audit. And Mr. Paul Garcia.
Hello, how are you doing? I'm a CPA and manager at Carr, Riggs & Ingram. If you want to go to open up your PowerPoint slide on page 1, that's where I'll go ahead and start. So what I'm going to briefly talk about is the agenda is the audit timeline, the auditor's report, the financial highlights, the charter school highlights, findings, which Chad already talked about. Single audit highlights, we did the student nutrition cluster this year. Talk about some upcoming standards and then some value-added suggestions. So the timing of the audit, we had the signed engagement letter in July 2019. We performed planning and field work June through September. We issued the report November 15th, and then it was released by OSA, the state auditor, on January 14th, 2020. And then here we are today presenting it. Go to the next page. As Chad discussed, they did, the district did have unmodified opinion, which is the best that you could get for on an audit report. We also had no findings on we did a single audit of the student nutrition cluster. We did a lot of testing over that program. We had no findings on that program. Next on below that is a statement of net position. So this is kind of just, and you'll see we have a trend report after this. This shows the 5-year trend. The biggest changes would be total assets increased by approximately $1 million from the previous year due to cash increase, mainly due to the state equalization guarantee revenue. It was offset though by a decrease of $814,000 from the Access Board E-rate revenue, which was high in the prior year. As far as liabilities, the biggest changes you're going to see, and this has been consistent the last couple years and going forward, is the net pension liability and the net OPEB liability. Every school district's having to deal with this, so you guys aren't alone in this, but it's drastically increasing liabilities on balance sheets. Your OPEB actually went down a little bit this year, but the net pension liability continues to go up. So if you go to the next page, we'll see a little bit of a trend analysis we have. So you can see your total assets have remained fairly consistent from 2015. So I'm on page 3 now. Your assets have remained fairly steady from 15 through 2019. Below that shows the liabilities, and you can see there that starting in 2017 up to 2018 and 19 is where liabilities went up a lot, and that was mainly due to pension, which is the yellow line there. You can see it's directly in line with the increase in liabilities is the pension and OPEB. Okay, if you go to page 4 now. This graph just shows net position. Once again, that's directly in line, mainly due to changes with the pension, making it change and go down from especially 2017 to 2019. So you can see that direct correlation. The last thing on that page is the statement of activities. So overall, total revenue has remained fairly consistent over the past few years. This year, it did increase $4.7 million from prior year. Total general revenues increased 1.3 in your general fund, and this is largely because of that state equalization guarantee revenue again, and then some investment income. Total expenses increased $8.6 million from the prior year, and a big part of this was salaries, para, FICA, and supplies. Okay. And then on page 5, you just see, this is just a correlation of the expenses to revenues. And then down below there is your general fund. So once again, talk about the revenue, which I already discussed, mainly the state equalization guarantee revenue. And the salaries were the changes there. Okay. Questions or just at the end?
Yeah,
If you guys have any questions as we're going along, feel free to.
Just real quick, if we want a more breakdown on the expenses, can we just get it, talk to you? Like if we can break it down a little further and dig a little deeper?
Oh, absolutely, yes.
Okay. If we go to page, let's see. Let's go to page 7, and we're going to talk about the Sidney Gutierrez Charter School. Actually, it starts on page 8. So once again, it's been fairly consistent over the years. You can see the diagram there at the bottom. The one biggest change, once again, being pension and OPEB, which the charter school also has. So that has increased liabilities since 2017. And just know that every year it could swing up or it could swing down. It's just how it is every single year at this point, and probably going forward, I don't know. It doesn't look like it's going to change anytime soon. So. Okay, if you go to page 9. So once again, you can just see the liabilities are going directly in line with the OPEB and the net pension liabilities. So it's been fairly consistent, except for those two items have caused it to increase.
And I'm going to throw in just a little bit of background on that net pension liability. So we've heard over the years a lot about the liabilities of various states and their various governmental pensions, or the unfunded liability that exists out there. So a lot of the rules have changed in recent years for adoption, and the states had some choices to make. Did they want to hold that liability, what would be at the New Mexico Educational Retirement Board level? Or did they want to push that down to the individual school districts themselves? Now, of course, me being the finance guy for a school district, I would argue that that needs to be with the state agency at the state level, since that's their liability, and they have control and dominion over that. And also the fact that they're not trying to build and remodel schools, and they don't have a bond rating to worry about. So I would argue that. But there is a lot of sensitivity from one year to the next in that total liability to this school district and other school districts, meaning it can go up or down quite a bit based on that cost sharing that is done at the state agency level, the New Mexico ERB, where they essentially share out the total costs of that liability to the school districts. And so I just wanted to point that out.
Okay.
Thank you, Chad.
If you go to page 10 now, this is the revenue and expenses for the charter school. You can see general revenues increased $27,000 due to increase in the state equalization guaranteed revenue again. Investment income of $3,000, and then some miscellaneous income for instructional materials. Expenses, once again, pension and OPEB expenses, $6,000 increase due to new excellence in teaching award expenses for compensation of $25,000. This was offset by a decrease of $19,000 from prior year repairs and maintenance in the capital improvement SB 9 funds, which were zero this year. And then below is just another correlation from 2015 to 2019, just showing the correlation of revenues to expenses. Okay, if you go to page 11, this is the single audit that we audited. We audited the child nutrition cluster. And with that program, we had several requirements, areas that were required to be tested, which were activities that were allowed, allowable costs, cash management, eligibility, procurement, program income, and special tests and provisions. So those are the areas we were required to test, and we did not have findings when we performed our tests and samples in these areas. At the bottom of that page is upcoming Gatsby standards. We've talked to Chad about this first one quite a bit, and if anyone needs help on it, we're definitely here to help with that. And it's due to your fiduciary activities. Just going forward in this current year, you're gonna have to disclose a lot more with each of those fiduciary activities. And
Those are activity accounts. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to speak a little bit like what's being done already? Or?
Go ahead. I'm not trying to steal your thunder.
Okay. So basically, we have to go through, Chad and the finance have to go through each activity and determine whether how much the district is actually doing and how much is actually like a student program. So it's a pretty intensive work that has to be done this year. They have to analyze every single program there. So, and then the second one is deal with leases. This is upcoming for all governments, all companies. Public companies already had to implement this, but all leases, including operating leases, are going to have to be capitalized. So it's going to add, once again, it's going to gross up on your balance sheet liabilities and capital assets because all leases need to be recorded from going forward. And that one actually, I did want to mention, that one actually got pushed out 1 year, so that won't be effective till 2021. And then if you go to page 12, these are just some value-added suggestions. I know here and just everywhere across the state dealing with IT issues, so we do have other, not necessarily my office, but we have several offices throughout the country that specialize in IT teams that'll come in and do penetration testing, things like that. So that's one service that we know is a hot topic right now that we do offer. We provide training on these. So just know that that's out there.
And if I could just chime in on that one as well, because we did suffer a cybersecurity attack, as our partners with CRI are well aware of this year. Thankfully, they helped us work through it. It was right in the middle of audit, which is probably the worst time to lose all your data and records and access to those things. So I'll just tell you that not just us, government in particular and across the board is a little behind the curve when it comes to cybersecurity, and penetration testing that Mr. Garcia mentioned is a big deal, and it's a great training tool. So I can tell you that working at the banks, cybersecurity was of the utmost importance to us, and we did do penetration testing of our staff. And again, that can be as simple as a hacker that is hired to try and penetrate your district network, or to send a spear phishing hoax to someone in the hopes that they'll click on it. They click on it, and they get a message that says, "You've just been, audited by such and such firm, and now you need to do this 15-minute training," whatever the case may be, online in the next 30 days. And so over time, word gets out, travels fast, and we get better and better at cybersecurity. It's a really non-passive way to get in there and train our folks up, and even ourselves become more familiar with some of the issues out there.
And I did want to say Chad, Linda, and his team worked with us very well, because we did have to alter the audit schedule when that happened. So we had to come up with some unique times to come out and perform the work, but we got it through and got it submitted in time and everything. So that kind of just carries in with page 13, just concluding comments. We want to thank you for serving the district and the charter school again. We did enjoy the work even this year, so we appreciate coming out here. And so I'll take that if you have any more questions at this point. The second thing, handout, it's kind of a summary page of everything I talked about. So it's just a smaller, just 2-page summary front and back. So, and then if you do have more questions, feel free to reach out. And then I know Chad said he'll get a little more detail on the expense part.
And I would just throw one other thing out there. Working with Mr. Garcia, AJ Bowers, the CRI team out of Albuquerque, they're an outstanding group. And you can really tell when things kind of start to go cattywampus on you, whether it's cybersecurity or other issues. Your auditors can either help you and support you and get you through it, or they can make it really difficult on you. And I'll tell you, their team is outstanding to work with. And when you have a good independent public accountant, you need to hang on to them for dear life. And we sure appreciate them and thank them. And I've just got to throw out Miss Linda Purcella, our Director of Business Services, is completely outstanding, and we couldn't have done it without her either. So big thank you to Linda, who's home sick today, but thank you to her as well.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay.
I have one question, but it's directed towards Mr. Cole. Mr. Cole, Mr. Garcia mentioned on slide 11 that the Gatsby, our activities accounts are going to be monitored a little more closely. How is our financial department, what safeguards are y'all putting in place? Having been a principal for so many years, I know those activity counts can get us in trouble.
What are the first two questions auditors ask you when they walk in the building? New, if you know them, whether you don't know them. One of the first questions is, are you aware of any fraud? And they put you on notice right then and there. Do you want to report any fraud? Are you aware of any fraud? The second question typically is, what's the weakest link for the school district? Where's the biggest risk in terms of internal controls? And I'll tell you that the biggest risk is the same thing I always tell our auditors. The biggest risk are on our activity accounts and our fundraising out at the school sites. Now, that's not a knock on school sites, individuals, or anything. They're not accountants, and they didn't go to school for accounting, and that's understood. I'm not a teacher, and I didn't go to school for teaching. And so, but that's our biggest link, or weakest link. And our, we talk about a fiduciary responsibility. There's some specific rules on those funds that flow through what we call the activity accounts. And there's some fiduciary requirements, and those requirements have gotten a little more intense with this Gatsby, Governmental Accounting Standards Board pronouncement. And the same thing with the leases in Gatsby 87 that's been pushed out another year. Those are things that we work with our auditors every year on and discuss and talk about and try and get ready for. I'll tell you again, this one, it used to be something that I worked on solely and specifically on the fundraiser approvals and reviews and activity accounts and setups and all those things for our schools. But Linda took over as we promoted throughout the business office, and she again has done just an outstanding job. I don't know of very many people other than maybe Mr. Gottlieb that work harder than Linda Purcella in terms of first to enter, last to leave, can plow through a lot of information and data and do a high quality job with it. And Linda just does a fantastic job with it. And she has been with the district over 20 years now. And she is very familiar with our schools, very familiar with our personnel, very familiar with all the different fundraising techniques and applications and things that we've seen over the years. And so our process, we have actually tightened over the years between Leslie Smith, myself, Linda Purcella, and we've tightened up those processes, and we feel pretty strongly about those processes and the way we monitor those funds and complete our fiduciary responsibilities to make sure those funds are being utilized the way they should.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Just a great job to the district. I think it's a really big deal to have no findings, and I wish I had no findings when my husband audits my spending, but it's a different story. So just a shout out to Linda and your team. Great job.
Thank you, Ms. Morales.
Do we have
Yes.
any other discussion? Oh, did you?
I was just gonna say, I do commend them on that too, because most have a lot of findings. I do, so to have none is a good accomplishment this year.
Yes.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? All right.
I already made my recommendation.
You already did, that's right. So, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye. Did you?
Aye.
Mona seconded.
No, Mona made the motion.
Oh, Mona made the
James
motion?
seconded.
I was thinking it was the other way, because I was looking right at James. All those in favor say aye. I think we already did
We
this.
did that,
Aye.
yeah.
Those opposed, same sign. The ayes have it, and the motion is carried. We have, surprisingly enough, as an action item, approval of the robotics team requesting funds to help pay for buses to attend tournaments in Amarillo
Thank you.
and El Paso, March 24th and March 29th.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
They need to learn how to ask in here now.
Mr. President, members, that's just too funny, I'm sorry. I recommend approval of the robotics team requesting funds to help pay for the bus to attend tournaments in Amarillo and El Paso on March 24th, 2020, and March 29th, 2020. Now, let me add one little thing to this.
Okay.
I have not made an announcement this yet. I'm working with, we have a meeting tomorrow very early. The Department of Health and the PED is requiring us to submit all trips out within the state and out of the state. And that is a new requirement that just came across this evening at 3:45, I think it was. And so they're gonna look at those trips and they may say yes or they may say no. So I already had the self-report with our team going to Roswell High that went to Orlando, Florida. I said, hey, we just got our team back from Orlando, Florida, is there a problem? They said no. I said, monitor our kids, so outside of that is no. So I've made my recommendation, but I thought I'd better add that point on so that the board understands. If the Department of Health or the CDC or PED says, no, you can't go, we're stuck.
Okay. So, Mr. Gottlieb, do we have any idea what the funds are going to be? for
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Or I can answer that.
Oh, Ms. Batista, thank you.
Why I'm here. I've gotten a quote from the bus company, and I believe it was $16.56 or $16.57 round trip for those 3 days, 2 nights.
Okay. Good.
Any other questions or comments? Okay. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Okay. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same sign. The ayes have it, and the motion is carried.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good luck.
All right, travel for EGP students to the Heritage Museum and Science Spectrum in Lubbock, May 2020. There's no date, just May.
Katie? The 14th?
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Mr. President, members of the board, I recommend approval of travel for East Grand Plains students to the Heritage Museum and Science Museum in Lubbock, May 14th, 2020, pending all approval.
Any questions or discussion? All right, then do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Okay, okay.
And Hilda.
Hope and Hilda, first and second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. The ayes have it, and the motion is carried. Now we have
Congratulations.
approval of travel for GHS student to BPA Nationals in Washington, D.C., May 6th through the 10th, 2020.
Good afternoon. Thank you, board members, Intern Superintendent Gottlieb, and administration. I'm Mr. Enriquez. I teach at Goddard High School Business Technology and Business. And I have a remarkable individual who we went to state. He's new to the States. He's barely been here a year, 2 years and a half. And last year I tried to convince him to join, but he didn't. But this year he's convinced, and
Nice.
he's the one that said him talk for himself.
My name is Sergio Montenegro. I'm from Goddard High School. I have 2 years in the United States, and for me is I'm so excited because I'm participating in the state convention of business professional in America, and I got the first place in security computer. And I'm here for ask to the permission to go to Washington D.C. for the nationals.
Okay.
Thank you.
Awesome.
We may be hiring somebody, Chad.
This
Mr.
is
President, members of the board, I recommend approval of travel for GHS student to the BPA Nationals in Washington, D.C., May 6th through 10th, 2020, pending again approval from the
The
different
state.
agencies.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Any questions?
Who will be accompanying you?
It would be me,
Okay.
only me and him. Yes, and the way we're going to travel is because we're going to get sponsorship from the community and fundraisers.
Okay.
Oh.
So we already started. I think we have a couple of entities that are really willing to fund us out.
Very cool.
So, I mean, we still have a little bit of time, but I understand the process involved. And now that what you mentioned, Mr. Gottlieb, about the state, all the CDC and all the stuff that's going on now,
We'll see.
we'll see.
We'll be in good shape. I know we will.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Okay, second? Okay, Hilda seconded. So I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. The ayes have it, and the motion is carried.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Good
Thank you
job.
so much.
All right, and next we have a donation of a Mac desktop computers worth $9,000 from ENMUR to RHS.
Mr. President, members of the board, I recommend approval of the donation of the Mac desktop computers worth $9,000 from NMUR to Roswell High School. Ms. Batista is here to answer any questions that you may have.
Is it like 2 computers because they're Macs?
No, actually, there are 6.
Very cool.
Donate 6,
Yeah, I don't remember the exact screen size. They are G5s, 2011
Okay.
G5s.
Wow.
They were being used by their digital media department.
Oh.
Their digital media department is now bringing in the brand new computers a little bit higher grade. These ones are still very well capable, but we're trying to get our digital media started at Roswell High, and so they offered to
Very
donate
cool.
those.
Awesome.
Nice.
6 is a lot.
So-
Any other discussion?
Just a note to the board, we are aware that the district doesn't support Macs, so any user errors or interface that we may have to come across with Macs, that would be on us and our own teachers. We do have a few teachers that will be helping with digital media that are familiar with Macs. Thankfully, we also have another teacher who was a former computer businessman, and he had his own computer business, so he may be able to help. But so as those degrade or run down, we do understand that that is on us and for us to fix.
Okay.
So
Okay.
will it still help and work with our security system and everything? Like,
It's a great question.
Say that again.
Yes.
with our
Yes,
security
yes, it
system
will.
and everything?
Yes, it will,
We're
because
getting a
we can hook
thumbs
them
up.
up in the system, and then our antivirus and
Okay.
all those different things are within the system itself.
Correct. And then I spoke with Roy Spraggs, and I believe he said it's $10 to put each one onto our system. So $60 total. Any
Good
other
deal.
questions?
All right. Do I have a motion to approve then?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. The ayes have it, and the motion is carried.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you
You're
very
welcome.
much.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay, Brendo Middle School, permission to accept $500 grant from Walmart Foundation.
Mr. President, members of the board, I recommend approval to accept the $500 grant from Walmart Foundation.
Refresh my memory. I know what these are for. You've told us, but I can't remember. Do you remember?
These are,
I'll
I
check.
believe it's for supplies. Chad, wasn't that correct?
Headphones and pencil.
Yeah.
No? That's a different
Hold on.
one?
Hold on.
Integrating technology, more technology in my classroom,
Exploring,
so they can learn to code and program.
Oh, yeah.
integrated more technology in classrooms so students can code and
She's
program.
standing right there.
CC plus.
Where is she?
Yeah.
She's right there. So what's it for? You don't have to come up to the microphone. Just,
So I'm starting a robotics class for my exploratory classroom, so I've been applying for some grant to get different robots coding spheres where my kids can learn how to block codes, so they can maybe step into C and Python. We're using all robots right now, so my kids have been learning how to code in C for the last couple months.
okay, cool. All right.
No.
Now we know.
What grade level?
She's got,
Level. 6, 7, and 8.
okay.
So the next couple grants are also for the permission to apply.
Okay, gotcha. Because I was looking at this, I'm like, wait, I see a disconnect. Okay, cool. All right.
Goddard teachers will love that.
So do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. The ayes have it and the motion is carried. Next, we have Brendo Middle School permission to apply for Staples grant through Adopt a Classroom.
Mr. President, members of the board, I recommend approval for the permission to apply for Staples grant through Adopt a Classroom. And it would apply for the Staples grant is the same thing, class set of stereo speakers, 10 bots. Okay.
Same materials, just a different avenue for
Okay?
So, Mr. Gallup, if we approve the permission to apply, are we gonna have to come back and approve permission to accept as well?
If it's over $500,
Okay.
we've looked at that issue, and the board may want to look at that down the road, at maybe increasing that I don't know, we'll have to talk to audits in that, Chad?
I would just say on any grant or donation, if the business office could be just alerted with basic information. One, we need to know if it goes into fixed assets. Two, we need to know if it's a grant or is it a donation. There's a little bit of difference there. If it's a grant, we need to bring it back in a BAR, a budget adjustment request, to the board for authorization before we can put it in budget. So just some of those things, if the business office could be communicated in on that piece, then that would be huge.
I'd say we look at that issue and then make a decision on where the board wants to draw a line.
Okay.
And there's several of these with those companies that are just right there.
Yeah.
And this one's $92.50, $92.50, so we're well under.
So what's the difference in a grant and the donation? Can you explain the donation to me, because I'm kind of confused?
Sure. So typically, a donation could be lots of different things. It may be, I walk up and say, Mr. Edwards, I want to give you some money for your youth football league.
Right.
And I've got, X dollars here to give you. That, of course, is a donation. It could also be a donation from a larger organization such as a foundation or a 501c3 or whatever the case may be. And they specify that it's a donation. A lot of times the difference with a donation and a grant is the terms in which you take those funds. So a donation, there's typically no strings attached to it. You're given those funds to utilize, or property or whatever the case may be, to utilize as your program sees fit. With a grant, there's always strings attached. There's always something that is required as a deliverable in terms of receiving the grant.
Because I know, like with the Walmart, it's actually a donation instead of a grant. Because
And that's part of why we'd like to see them, is to help with that.
It falls under it says grant, but it's actually a donation.
Yeah.
And if the reason I'm asking is because time is of the essence. They give each Walmart a pot of money, and if another agency applies for that money, it knocks them out of the box.
Yeah.
And I don't think we should. Well, this is just me talking. That if they're applying for it, doesn't necessarily mean they're going to get it.
I've always advised that there's nothing wrong with applying for funds.
And I think that's what the question that she's asking, because we're going to have to do it.
But
twice.
if you receive funds and receipt funds, then you need to definitely reach out to us and get board approval as well.
On it. Understand it. Gotcha.
Okay. Any other questions?
No.
All right, so do I have a motion to approve?
So move.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and I have a second. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign. The ayes have it, and the motion is carried. Next, we have Brundle Middle School permission to apply for Donors Choose Grant for Makey Kids?
Makey Kids.
Makey.
Mr. President, members of the board, I recommend approval of the BMS permission to apply for a donor choose grant for the Makey Kits, and this is a STEM display featuring circuitry, coding, and programming, about $805.
Okay. Any other questions? Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
So moved.
All right, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. The ayes have it, and the motion is carried. Next, we have Brendo Middle School permission to apply for Sam's grant for classroom supplies.
Mr. President, members of the board, I recommend approval of the BMS permission to apply for the SAMS grant for classroom supplies. This is integrating more technology into the classroom so students can continue to learn coding and programs on various platforms. Python C, she is applying for the full $5,000 amount.
Okay. Is there any discussion?
No, I just
All right.
congratulate her for reaching out and doing this. Awesome. Okay.
All right, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and I have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. The ayes have it, and the motion is carried. Next, we have Brendo Middle School, permission to accept the donation of $500 from Walmart for headphones and pencil pouches.
Mr. President, members of the board, I recommend approval of the BMS permission to accept the donation of $500 from Walmart for headphones and pencil pouches.
Is there any discussion about this?
Self-explanatory.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. The ayes have it, and the motion is carried. Next, we have SMS. Wow. Sierra Middle School, permission to apply for a SAM's grant for PE equipment and supplies.
Mr. President, members of the board, I recommend approval of the Sierra Middle School permission to apply for SAM's grant for PE equipment and supplies. She noted that the athletic equipment would engage students in different sports and align to the standards for avenues for life fitness.
Any discussion? If not, may I have a motion to approve?
Do we have a, sorry, I'm a little late on that, specific teaching, teaching equipment?
We have Victoria.
For the, yeah, Victoria.
This is our
Would you come forward and talk to us?
She's one of my recruits.
Yay. So tell us a little bit about this donation.
Okay, it would be for my students to be able to play hockey, different cultural games like takra. That's just a simple like Filipino-based game. It's sort of like, I equate it to ninja training. It's really cool. It's a little net and they can kick the ball, which is very similar to soccer. So it can relate to a lot of things that a lot of students already play, relating it back in a global sense.
Nice. And you're wanting $600 and that would cover
Yeah.
the donation?
There's one more,
is-
Mrs.
Okay, so it's
Oh, no.
the next one.
Yes,
Okay.
don't leave.
Okay,
Don't leave.
stay right here. I got you.
All right, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Okay,
I second.
okay. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. The ayes have it, and the motion is carried. Next, we have SMS, permission to apply for SAM's grant for PE equipment and supplies.
Mr. President, members of the board, I recommend approval for the Sierra Middle School permission to apply for Walmart grant for PE equipment and supplies.
Same thing?
Same thing.
All right. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Okay, do I have a second? Two.
I second.
Okay. Mona made the motion and Hilda seconded. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. The ayes have it, and the motion is
For
carried.
the two teachers that are applying for the grants, if the grants are not approved, if you can just update us as well, so maybe perhaps there's something different that you might be able to provide information, or see if it might be somewhere else to help you all out.
So, Ms. Fajardo, I want to come to your classroom and watch. Once you get the equipment, let us know. Thank you. Thank you.
She's what?
All right. Roswell High donation, dent and ding doctor.
Mr. President, members of the board, I recommend approval of the Roswell High School donation dent and ding doctor. This is the Roswell High School softball program. It's been offered a donation of 8 double occupancy lockers for the Roswell High School softball field from Dent and Ding Doctor, a local business. The estimated value is $1,298.34. The lockers will assist the softball team to store equipment and safety for many years. And we're here.
Hello. Good evening. My name is Rebecca Marujo. I'm the head softball coach, and behind me I have 2 of my athletes. Just coming up and presenting our lockers, hoping that you guys approve it would be great, and it would benefit our young ladies in certain ways. And I'm going to have one of my athletes come and tell you one reason why.
My name is Carissa Mesquita. I'm Roswell High senior. I've been playing for 5 years. I believe we would really be happy with these lockers because for the past 5 years that I've been here, we haven't really had any storage. We just store our stuff practically on the ground in a corner. But having them would, our jerseys could be hung up, our equipment could be stored, and then during games, because we play double headers every day, or every game day, And then so coming into that locker room-ish, you know, and then being able to be talked to by a coach and be away from the fields, you know.
Very cool. Now, because it's Denton Ding Doctor, are you guys like gonna tell people to park where they can get their car hit? So you can
What?
Is this helping their business?
Yes, it's kind of our, you know,
Strategy.
Our strategy. Yes, he's actually my assistant coach. So.
So I have a question. So the lockers, will this enable everyone? Will all the girls have a locker now?
So not right now. I mean, we only have enough for 16, and we're hoping, you know, within the years to bring in more and get.
Do you have space available in there for them to be installed?
Yes.
More
so,
lockers?
Yes, we have cleaned, you know, a lot of the things out. We're making, you know, arrangements where we can put more shelving in, and then where we're able to put those lockers. So, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Well, if there is no more discussion, may I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. The ayes have it, and the motion is carried.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Good luck.
The one girl didn't talk.
All right, next we have board norms, second reading.
Mr. President, members of the board, I recommend approval of the board norms. This is a second reading.
Okay, the second reading of the board norms, is there any discussion?
No, said they were good.
All right, may I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Okay,
She
we'll
first and
let,
I second.
we'll let Hilda have this
Yeah.
one, yeah.
She spoke before
Yeah,
I did.
and then let Mona have the second. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. The ayes have it, and the motion is carried. Next, we have an RFP, sorry, 20-06, network switches and wireless access points.
Mr. President, members of the board, I recommend approval of RFP number 20-6, network switches and wireless access point. This will be for Del Norte Elementary School.
Okay.
All right.
For the new school?
Del Norte, yeah.
Do we have any questions or
For Del Norte,
for Del Norte?
the new construction.
Yes. All right. If we have no discussion, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign. The ayes have it, and the motion is carried. Next, we have approval of the RISD three-year school calendars, 2020, 21, 21, 22, 22, 23. First reading.
Mr. President, members of the board, I quit the calendar committee. I'm just going to tell you right now. No, I recommend approval of the RSD three-year school calendar for 2021,
This is a first
22,
reading, though.
and 2023. It is a first reading.
Yeah.
Can I
So-
ask a couple questions?
Yeah,
It's
we
all
want
of you.
Okay, I
discussion.
know, I'm just, these are weird questions, but they were just they just
There's no
popped up.
weird questions when it comes to calendars, I promise you.
Yeah.
So on the spring break, this year in particular, I was looking at, and I'm wondering, is there any way we could coincide spring break with the changing of the time? We're like a week away from it each year, and I'm like, because I looked up, the change happens on the 14th in 2021, and every time we're the week before, and I'm thinking, man, wouldn't that be great if, I mean, I know especially for me and my children, I mean, Monday morning was like,
For everybody.
yeah, so I'm thinking that's the way it is for everybody, and all of our teachers are dealing with a full moon and Friday the 13th.
Worm moon.
And time change.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, is there a reason we have it the week after?
Well, one of the things that came up in the calendar committee is they wanted us to push the time later because of
Testing.
well, not just testing. The issue happened to be, they're saying we're so early in March that they want to push down when it's not so cold, and they want it to be out a little more. So we told them, we worked on it, because we did have it that week of the 15th through the 19th, but they said, Mr. Gollop, can you please look to see if we can push it one more week? I said, let me talk to Ken, because one of the reasons that we have to fight this issue on the dates is when testing starts and when it stops. And there's so much, as you saw
So much,
last
yeah.
board meeting, all the testing that's going on that's required. It's one of those issues that you can, if we can push that back up a week if you want, but I was just telling you what the teachers came back, in that committee, what they had said, could you move it down 1 week? So that was, trying to honor that, and we were able to do that within the testing calendar. We were okay. So again, this is a first reading.
Yeah.
We'll take anything else that the parents, or you have. One of the questions that came up, from Hope was, could we change the parent conferences to a Friday instead of a Wednesday? We had brought that up in the meeting also, and it was, a lot of teachers said, well, we like it on the Wednesday. We said, what about the Friday? They said, well, then Thursday, not Friday. So that's open for discussion again for the board's decision.
And I listened to that too, but the Friday discussion lends itself to the coaches are never there. You're going to miss, I missed an enormous amount of teachers when we had them on Fridays because I only got to see 1 or 2 teachers because everybody was gone, and I typically go in the mornings, so it was a disaster.
But if we go back to what you said, giving the opportunity for Thursday evening as well will give a little bit more flexibility to be able to go Thursday evening or Friday.
And we would have to work with the teacher schedules and timelines so that if we go Thursday evening, they go half day on
Now, is that
Friday.
negotiated, or is that left to us?
That basically is up to you
Okay.
on that issue. That's a board decision. We just have to make sure we meet the correct amount of hours that we have our staff participate in that.
And I never had very good luck with the Thursday, Friday either, so,
This is one of the things that I look to the community specifically to try to get feedback on, especially the district calendar, because this will impact the variety of organizations. Other districts look to us whenever making this decision. So just some feedback from it. I got a lot of feedback. And when you talk about quit the calendar committee, I understand why you did, but it was great feedback. So far, people are really responsive to us approving a 3-year calendar. They think it's great because they're able to look out and plan things, whether they're parents or community members. So kudos for the idea on us approving the 3-year calendar. A majority of individuals, parents, teachers, had concern about the Wednesday conference. For the teachers, they said it's a disruption in the middle of the week. There were teachers that did like it. And for parents, they said it was hard for them to find sitters during the middle of the week, and Wednesday is also a church night for many of our families. So their ideas were mainly around the Thursday evening, Friday morning option. But what teachers asked us to consider when we talk about the time is to not start it right at 3 o'clock. They want to go get food, they want to get their family situated, so perhaps starting at 4 to 7, so they have a break during that school day and then parent conferences. And lastly, I was kind of expecting and curious about the Wednesday thing, but something a very large number of people brought up was concern around our start date being so early in August. They threw out lots of ideas, perhaps us shortening some of the holiday breaks, extending the school year out. But there was really a big request for us to start school the 2nd week of August and not the 1st week like we have it on there.
Yeah, I've heard that too. And I know that the new thing we did, it was, about 5 years ago, maybe less, that we went to the full week at Thanksgiving. And I know that as I looked at the full week at Thanksgiving and I noticed that we started 3 days, I don't think we could get it back. But I don't know if that's even a possibility, but I've heard that too. That is early, and it just seems like it's
only 2 days difference.
I know.
I mean, it's really, and it's one
It's
of those.
not your deal. It's just it's been going on, and I'm just.
I have
wondering,
to
is
work
there
with
any way?
what's already been
Yeah.
in place.
Right.
So here's some of the problems we deal with in calendar. Not only do you deal with, as you remember, count days. You cannot have any holiday, any parent conference day, any activity that's on a count day. The state will not forgive you on that. Even on a snow day, the only thing they'll forgive us on a snow day is transportation.
Yeah.
And that's it. So there's some real issues when we do with count days, and they're not willing to wiggle room. So you have those an issue. Then the other issues, you have the teachers allotted days. I mean, we have on contract for 184 days. You have a certain amount of days for students besides the time. So you have to take all those things, and you try to balance your semesters out. I remember way back now, because remember I'm old, we had in 1 year it was really unbalanced, and that set off the report cards and gradings and handing out report cards and running report cards. So you have to balance your semesters, and it's just, the only thing that's changed since I left is we added more days to the Thanksgiving break. By 2 days. By 2 days.
2 days.
By 2 days. So I'm open to any suggestions, but I will tell you, it's one of those things that you're not just looking at 1 year calendar, you're looking for 3 years. And I would highly recommend to the board they accept the 3 years, because there's so many organizations, the Valley Schools, Eastern, the Institute, a lot of those look at our calendar because we affect a lot of people. A lot of people. So it's just, it's one of those tough things. We'll do whatever you want us to do, but
I think it would be, and I don't, look, temperature aside, I think it would be an interesting thing to see what the teachers think. I mean, I know that's a lot of work, but I think it would be very interesting to see what all the teachers would say and parents would say about moving spring break and time change at the same week. I don't know. We've gone a lot earlier than when I was up until 2 years ago, it was all the way almost to Easter when we would do spring break.
you gotta remember, there was a period of time the state was trying to control the state's spring break, and I gave up on that issue because of so many different problems that ran across the state. So that happened right after I left, that the state says, no, we want everybody on this, because they were getting all the tests out at the same time. They wanted everybody on that same schedule. Now,
So now they're not.
we actually have flexibility on moving that up 1 week, because it was that 1 week until the teachers said, no, please look at moving it down. We'll be happy to poll the teachers. That's very easy to do.
And I don't, it doesn't matter to
And the
me,
same thing
it's
with
just
the
something
Wednesday.
that's popped up.
The same thing with Wednesday. We can poll the teachers on, do you want parent conferences on a Wednesday, or would you prefer it Thursday night, Friday morning?
Well, that was also brought up in the meeting, Mr. Gottlieb.
Yes, I
Why
know.
don't you give us a little background to the process on how we got here? That might help the board members understand.
We have a group of teachers that I meet with after the board meeting to go over everything that's happened. So they can ask questions. They also help us study what's going on in the district. And the first thing I came to them, I said, you know, guys, we don't have a 3-year calendar, and it's not good for the community. It's not good for you. You can't plan things out. No one can do this. So I said, we need feedback. Let's give this. They had already started a process, but I said, let's start discussing your days. They're your days, so you need to tell us what you want. So, and we did discuss the Wednesday, actually Mona was there at that meeting. I said, she came in the office to visit on a couple things. I said, come on down, we got the calendar committee meeting today. So she was there and present at that time to listen to the conversation from the teachers. And it really went back and forth between middle school and high school and the elementary. Because they had different points of viewpoint. One of the big things that came out from the middle and high, particularly the high school, was that the coaches are going to be gone. They're going to be traveling, so then the parents don't have access. So, you know, it's just on the calendar, well, do whatever you tell us to do.
I don't want us to dictate it to people.
Yeah,
but I'd like-
I don't
I'd like
either.
to
I
check.
want the
We
committee.
can definitely poll the teachers and say, hey, you want it a week earlier, or a week later on the spring break? And the same thing on the Wednesday.
And what about the start date for August? I looked at some district calendars around the state, and I understand about trying to make semesters as balanced as possible. Some of our other districts are a little off because they started a little later or go a little longer. I don't know if we want to take that route. But when we get feedback on this, I don't want to limit the feedback just to our teachers, because it makes a difference for our parents and community members as well. So if we go that route, I think the calendar is something that needs to include everybody.
The only problem with that, and I understand what you're saying, Hope, I really do. The issue is that not everybody understands the intricacies of what happens in a school year. And if, for example, I had one parent say, well, you guys don't need staff development. Guess what? it is required by the state of New Mexico that you have all this professional development.
Right.
So it's the same thing with the count days and the same thing with hours. I had another parent that said,
Bless you.
I want you to go, no breaks, I want you to go all the way through.
Yeah.
And I said, well, that doesn't fit in with teacher contracts. So, you know, you just,
Right.
there's different issues as you move forward.
But I
And it's
think
hard to explain it.
if we're very specific and give just a couple of options related to, would you like parent conferences on Wednesdays or Thursday, Friday? If we can be very specific on that, I think we'll eliminate some of those ideas that are outside of the box.
Okay.
So does that mean you're back on the calendar committee, Mr. Gottlieb?
Man. Wednesdays to Fridays, I got that.
Thursday,
And
Friday.
then moving the spring break back 1 week.
And start.
And if it's at all, I can understand that if we can't move it, but it would be nice if we went to the second week of August, but I get it. I mean, I don't think we've gone to the second week of August for 3 years.
Or longer.
I think it's been the first
Or
week
longer.
since I can remember.
When
So-
I
When they were
was
starting school.
in the district.
The
In
middle
fact,
of
even our
August.
first year here, I think my daughter had her birthday after a week of going to school, so that means it was, what, August 10th when we started, so that was,
So those are the two options I have right now.
okay,
Okay.
all right.
And
We
Mr. Gallup,
appreciate
did they
that.
mention, I'm just curious on teachers for spring break. I remember them thinking after spring break, it was a really long time before the end of the year without any breaks at all. So if we move it earlier, I don't know if that'll come out. Let them decide, but I remember
You're
not
correct.
giving any breaks at all
Yeah.
for
Well, you gotta remember,
May or,
our kids have really changed a lot, and I'm kind of opponent for teachers in the classroom because they're fighting a lot of issues with right now in classroom issues and behavior. So you're actually right, because the teachers do need that.
Absolutely.
But I'm happy to get that out to them and say, give us some feedback and
Yeah, let's
bring
get
it
the
back
feedback
at the
and
next
see.
board meeting and say, this is what we heard, and we'll go from there.
And the board will do that.
Okay?
We're happy with that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I quit the calendar committee.
You quit.
I quit.
We don't have to vote on that, so
No,
we
it's
have
not.
the
No action.
Open Meetings Resolution, the Open Meetings Act Resolution.
Mr. President, members of the board, I recommend approval of the Open Meeting Act resolution. We have to do this yearly.
Has to be done every year. So, do we have a motion to approve?
so moved.
Second.
Okay, Hope. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. The ayes have it, and the motion is carried. Next, we have reports. Mr. Gottlieb, you'll start us off.
Real quick, the stakeholders and parent information on the laid-in for the high school. I had already had some discussion that sent some information out. If you take in the ones that did not like it at all, and the last portion that there was another portion that the, excuse me, look it up, fair, they call it fair. If you add those numbers together, that's over 70% did not like the laid-in. What I would like to recommend, it's not a board action, but I'd like to make sure the board's okay with just a nod of your head. I would like next year to have middle school and high school regular schedule, Monday through Friday. We start at 8 o'clock, and go all the way through for the community's sake. It was a very hard deal. The elementary is much different. Again, I would desperately hope that the board understands that we keep our early out, late in, whatever you want to call it for the elementary. It's been in place over 20 years, maybe 25 years. I don't know, Julie, what do you remember? About the same amount of time. And those teachers in the classroom need that. They have no breaks. Literally, bathroom breaks are a royalty thing in elementary. They don't have the prep time. They don't have the block schedule. So my recommendation I'm going to give to the principals is that that's gone. We'll have to work with professional development another way and keep the elementary in place. All I need is a nod.
And this will be implemented for next school year, though,
Next
correct?
school year.
Okay.
Right now, there's
Too late.
you
Yeah.
have too late. You have
Yep.
60 days left. You've got testing going on. You have bus schedules.
It's a big
I know
transition.
it's not everybody's not happy with that, but it's too many issues that have come up, including scheduling, so I appreciate the board on that. The other issue I have before we get to test data is the COVID-19 or the coronavirus. As you heard me say, we have a team meeting tomorrow morning at 7 o'clock in my office. We're going to go over the CDC report, Department of Health report. We're checking what we're doing, making sure we are in line in case we do have something back in Roswell, just like we did when I was here last time for N1H2. I mean, that was just not much fun at all. We do have to be very careful, and Sean has been working with the custodians on the issue of cleaning. We have plenty of supplies. We kind of cheated on that issue. We ordered ahead as soon as it came out. Experience learned from the past. And then Katie's been working with the nurses very, very well. She's been keeping us well informed. There is we have a phone conference with CDC and Department of Health Thursday morning at 9 o'clock that we'll have several staff on phone with me. And then we also have at Eastern, Sean is having a Department of Health meeting that we're sending people to out at Eastern. So we're trying to keep up with it as much as we can. As of the last report, we still have none in the state of New Mexico, so please knock on wood that we stay that way forward. So I want to keep the board informed on that. Chad, I want to go ahead and move to Kenneth's information on student data. This district's been very lax on that, and Ken, if you're ready, please move forward.
Good evening, members of the board. Superintendent Gottlieb. You just going to start that? Okay, despite the fact that it says data, there's not going to be any data on there. It's just going to update you on our spring assessments. Everything this year is, there we go. Everything this year is brand new. Every single test that we have is brand new. Everything is online now. We're very, very limited on the use of paper, and that's very strictly for students that need that for Braille or large print. The NM Mesa, or NM Masa, whichever way you would like to pronounce that, is for grades 3 through 8 math. It's 3 units. It's not timed, but they're estimated to be about 60 minutes each. So despite the fact that it looks like we're doing nothing but testing for the last 9 weeks, it's about 3 hours, and that's an estimated time. That's NM Mesa Math. Then you've got the NM Mesa English Language Arts, which is, again, grades 3 through 8. This is also about 3 hours. It's in 2 units only, 75 minutes for grade 3 and about 90 minutes for grades 4 through 8. The reason they're longer is the field test items are embedded. It's still park-like, so the data that we're receiving from these 2 assessments is very comparable to the information that we have for the last few years. Cognia is a new company, and they're embedding their own items in there. So it'll be seamless. We won't be able to know which ones are Cognia, which ones are still park-like.
Okay.
Now what? There we go. Our testing window, it opens April 6th, but they give us huge windows. So when Mike was talking to me about the calendar, I said, we'll work around our needs, because our testing windows are huge. We're not going to start on April 6th. We're going to start on April 13th to give our teachers as much instructional time as possible. We don't want to cut them off of 2 weeks of instruction time. The next one, what do I point? There we go, is our science test. Now, this year it is a complete field test, but we still need to have our participation. This year it's going to be in grades 5, 8, and 11, which is going to align us with the rest of the states. We had been doing 4, 7, and 11, but the tests around the rest of the states aligns to 3, 4, 5 math and 6, 7, 8, 3, 4, 5 science, 6, 7, 8 science, 9, 10, 11 science. So now our tests are going to align us more with the rest of the country. This year it's just a field test, so it's only 2 units per grade, approximately 2 hours for grade 11 and approximately 90 minutes for grades 5 and 8. Again, computer-based, everything's on the computer. And this is NMASR. What's really good about the way they're structuring it is this company, Cognia, is going to provide the testing platform for both NMASA, NMESA, or NMASR. So everything in there is going to look exactly the same for the kids, so it should be very, very smooth. I'm anxious to see how it's going to work out. They tested already at early college, and it went really smoothly out there. And I was worried because they're not on our network out there. We are not going to start testing any of these things until after spring break. So after spring break, we're going to hit it hard as soon as we come back. The field test, we'll be doing that as soon as we come back that week, because it is a field test and it is a limited amount of grades. We should be fine to get that done within 1 week. There we go. All right, so this is grades 3 through 8, but it is also grade 11 in high school. Oh, I'm sorry, did I skip one? Yeah, I did. I'm sorry, I was pressing too many things there. Our window is really huge again, but we're going to test for science in just that last week of March, right after spring break. And for students that need to test in Spanish, the computer system for Cognia allows us to test in Spanish for both science and math, but they still don't have a Spanish reading test. And New Mexico is a bilingual state. So our kiddos that are testing in Spanish, those that cannot test with the ESL supports can still take the Spanish reading test on paper. And it's a very limited number of kids. We don't have a lot because they're receiving almost all their instruction in English. So we don't have a huge number of kids that take Spanish. But it is going to be available. 3 sessions, untimed. All these tests are untimed, and about 60 minutes per session. So it's very much in line with the other ones. So we're looking at about 6 hours testing over the 6-week period, so about an hour a week. It's not a huge amount for the poor kiddos. We'll focus more on instruction. I keep pointing this thing at different places. There we go. All right, and our Spanish SBA is only for students that are ELs and only the first 3 years in school. We had an opportunity to do a waiver for students. We kind of saved that for only students that are at the high school level that are trying to exit and have had quite a bit of Spanish language arts instruction in Mexico. But it really has not been that successful. The kids do better in English after they've been here for a couple of years. There we go. And again, the window is huge, April 6th through May 8th. We'll be starting to test April 13th, the second week, and we should be done in 3 weeks. Now we get to the high school. So high school, this year is going to be completely online. It is totally different from everything that we've done before. We're still a Common Core state, and the standards are still there embedded in the test. But now we're going to move to a different type of test rather than just a state test. Now, there was a large committee that was trying to, over the course of months, I think Ms. Morales was on that committee, and choosing the PSAT or ACT did not win out by a huge majority, but it was plurality. And we are able to use these tests for college level entrance exams, so it serves a dual purpose, and it ties into national scholarship search. So it serves some different purposes for the students as well as for the parents. But I did want to break it down for the time for you. So these are taken in 1 day. So it's not going to be 3 days the way it's possible to take the other tests in 3 days. This one's just 1 day. So the PSAT 10 is about, well, you can see our time there, but it's about 3 hours. And the pre-administration adds some more time on there. We could do that beforehand. But this is going to be all of our 10th graders. Now, it's been causing me headaches because the state pulled all of our students by their grade level, but that does not correspond to their year in school at all. So I've had to track down all the students at every school to make sure that they're testing the right test. So our second year high school students, I'm not going to go with 10, will be taking this test. And you can see how long that one is.
So what do you think the cause of that is?
Credits.
Well, our kiddos could be,
Rollover? Oh,
yeah.
credits. And the
And
rollover
there's the cohort, H2, H3, but that doesn't jive either. So I've pulled from the H2, H3, I pulled from the grade level, and I just had to go one by one to figure out when they first came to school, when they first enrolled in 9th grade, to figure out where they were first year, second year, third year. And then we have kids who come from out of state or from the academies, the online academies, and they've never been in 9th grade. So we just have to kind of determine where they belong so that we can get them all in there and take their test. And once they're on here, they're able to connect to Khan Academy and design their own personal learning plan to get them ready for the SAT. And other states that have done this, Colorado in particular, our neighbors to the north, saw a really large percentage of students that didn't know that they were going to get a college-ready score, that were not going to pay money to take the SAT, and they ended up taking that test and having quite a bit higher percentage of students that were college eligible. So very excited about this. But it's a lot of training, and our teachers are doing a lot of work, and our test coordinators at the high schools have really been putting in the hours, so they've been doing a lot of work. So let's see if this thing turns. I think it needs a new battery. There we go. Now, the SAT for 11th graders is completely online again, so I'm hoping they have their typing skills up to date. This one is 4 hours long, and it is a one-day test. Now, it says optional on the essay, but we are doing the SAT with essay. And all the kids are able to test within, they don't have to show up on Saturday, they don't have to come and bring ID, they don't have to pay for it. So despite the fact that it's so much changes for us, I think it's going to be good. And I'm really anxious to see how our results turn out. And I know that we've provided lots of resources to the teachers and made resources available to the parents. And we're going to put some more up online so that they're able to just go to there, click and find it. And our kids have been working hard to establish their own College Board accounts and their own study sessions. So I'm really anxious to see how this is going to end up for us. But everything is brand new, everything's online, every single test is different. And I just want to take 5 minutes to make sure that you guys are aware of what we're doing for this year. These are some of the resources for the families, and we'll put links up in the front of the website so they can get to it easily.
These will be on the district website?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Get out of there.
Yep.
One thing that we're going to have to do differently is we're going to have to do a parent permission slip to have the parents sign, because the students are able to get into Big Future. And so they do that themselves when they're doing the pre-registration. They register themselves in there. But the state of New Mexico said, okay, you're going to have a parent permission slip before they get in there. Not that the parents are going to be there to be able to stop them from getting in, but we want to make sure all the parents have their Spanish-English permission slip out there so they know what we're signing up for. It's not that they're going to get random emails or anything, but this would put your scores out there for colleges to recruit you and for scholarships to look for you. Schools that you may have never heard of, you may have never considered. And so it's just going to open you up, nationwide.
So it's not parent permission to take the assessment, it's just to utilize this portion?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am. We have to take the assessment, but we want them to have permission to say, yeah, I want my student to participate in there. I don't anticipate anyone saying no, but maybe so. Alrighty, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I have just a couple questions for you.
Yes,
Have our
ma'am.
teachers already been trained on the new
Oh, my
assessment
goodness.
and the protocols?
I have gotten, they're sick
So
of seeing
many.
emails
So they're
from
ready
me.
to roll and
Way.
So
They're overtrained.
on the SAT side and the PSAT side, they have to establish their own professional account on College Board, and then send them all the links, and then they have to do an online training session so that they're able to operate the system. And so we're in the process of that. The high schools are also going to probably take advantage of tomorrow and maybe sometime on Friday. It doesn't really take that long, but it's just to make sure everyone knows what they need to be doing.
Right. And do we have enough testing coordinators in the classrooms? Since we
Well,
may not have enough licensed teachers?
Everybody can be a proctor who has, even the permanent subs, as long as they have a license with the state, they can be a proctor. And we're gonna test SAT on April 14th, and then we're gonna take PSAT the week after. And then we have a makeup day also. So we should be good, and we do have enough devices, and Royce and his crew have been very supportive of us.
And do our testing coordinators receive a stipend?
No, they do not.
And last question, since the state changed the school grades, we can no longer look at the student data on the website anymore. We're anxiously awaiting their new dashboard. Can you email the board just some of the student learning data that you have from last
Sure.
year's assessments?
However, it is on there now. New Mexico Vistas is their new website.
And it's live and?
Yeah, it's live now. I was poking around on there already. So all the stuff that used to be there for the report card is there.
Okay,
So
thank you.
if you need, if you can't find the link or can't locate that,
I'll find it, don't worry.
shoot me an email and I'll make sure you get there.
Isn't that on the district website? Isn't the link on the district website?
We could put a link on the
I think
website
we need to, yeah.
with our parents, just with all that information and stuff, so they can click and
They
go
can
to that.
click and go to it.
Mhm.
Perfect.
And our pages for the Vista were actually designed by the principals. So we sent out, and it was a busy time for the principals, but we sent out for them. Their state is asking you to help design your Vista page. So they did participate in all that.
Nice.
We always try to put representatives from Roswell. The science test, they're going to be looking for teachers to participate in looking for bias and evaluating the test. So I shot that out to all our science folks.
Nice.
Thank you. Fran.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it. Thanks. General Ledger.
Yes, sir. Superintendent Gottlieb, Board President, Getty, members of the board. You have here the general ledger report as of July 1st, 2019 through February 29th of 2020. You'll notice here that there's 55 separate funding sources of the district. Each one of those requires your approval for budget. We're about to start the budget development process with the Budget Development Committee. And certainly our board members that are on that committee will be, as well as many district administrators, principals, teachers, parents, concerned citizens will be receiving emails with the schedule and the location and a map and all those good things. But with regard to the funds, there's nothing in particular here that stands out to me in terms of what we're looking at. I will tell you just some basic things, and I think we ought to refresh on these every chance we get or when we meet. You see the first couple of line item accounts there, that 11,000 followed by 0000 four times. That 0000 represents revenue. 1,000 through 5,000 represents expenditures. And so just a quick rule of thumb when you're looking at those things, the 0 always represents revenue. Revenues always carry a credit balance or a negative balance. That's how it should be. You'll notice in going through all these funds, these 55 different funding sources of the district that Paul Garcia went through and audited with us for several months this recently. Of those funds, we've got about 135 million, a little over 135 million total of all of those funds, 55 different funding sources. And so if you look at the operational fund, which is the first fund listed, Fund 11,000 indicates that it's operational funds of the district. You can see that our revenue, our budgeted revenue, is $93.2 million. $93.2 million of 135 million total. So that tells you that the operational by far is the largest funding source of the school district. If you look just a column over to the left where it says YTD balance or YTD BAL, year-to-date balance is what that is, and what that represents is year-to-date activity, whether it's deposits in terms of revenues. We can see that 61.6 million has been deposited into the operational revenue source. And you can follow on down and see year-to-date what the expenditures of each fund have been up to date in terms and comparison to the next column over the budget. So I just kind of wanted to lay out some of those basic principles, and again, I think it's worthwhile to go over some of that, in brief when we look at these, and I would certainly take any questions. But again, in terms of our audit, in terms of our fiscal soundness and where we're at as a district, we've had a lot of revenues added, particularly to the operational fund this year. But it's also worth pointing out that we've had some new recurring expenditures that were added in terms of salaries. I don't argue that for the good or the bad. I just need to point it out. A lot of what the state did in terms of its legislation last year required not only a percentage increase, not an average, not a straight percentage, but they also tweaked the required minimums for the three-tiered licensure that we enjoy here in New Mexico, level 1, level 2, and level 3. Each one of those jumped by about $10,000 more. So you take that and combine that with a percentage increase that's required, and you get to a 15% recurring cost increase. And when I say recurring costs, I'm just indicating that those costs don't go away. Those are like your utility costs, your salary and benefits costs. Those are not a one-off cost where it's a one-time cost and you're done. So that's the structure and nature of our budget, particularly our operational budget, that we have to watch and maintain very closely is what is the recurring revenue, state SEG, or state equalization guarantee, versus the recurring costs. And so here in the last couple of days, we've seen some really interesting times in terms of oil and gas, and that's not, I mean, that may be a one-off this week, but that is going to have a lasting impact into the summer months. And so it's actually a pretty big deal in terms of the squabbling that may be going on there with Russia and Saudi Arabia. And those are two very large producers. As a matter of fact, I think they're probably third and fourth, or second and third behind the United States now in terms of production to the world. So a big market battle going on there. It has the potential to really upset markets, not only in the United States and around the world, but New Mexico in particular. And I think anytime you're looking at a state or agency or government or organization, whatever it is, when you get up in the chips, so to speak, and your revenues are up and you've got some revenue surpluses, that's a great time to look at how can we invest those funds in becoming more efficient, better educated, better able to absorb various impacts and various things. And again, we talked about those unfunded liabilities that New Mexico carries as a state in terms of our educational retirement, and would certainly love to see some of that on the legislative side that we haven't seen yet. But again, the oil and gas revenues are going to have an impact on us going forward. And so having a great big leap in terms of our recurring revenue last year and the year before that, I am really hoping that we don't see a great big leap in the other direction, because the leap we took last year was pretty incredible, 15% increased recurring costs. And with that, I'll close my mouth and take any questions.
It's backflips.
I think they'll understand that, Mr. Cole. Before we go to Medea's report, Grandma, welcome back.
Thank you. Grandbaby's here in Roswell.
Hey, nothing better than the grandchild back in Roswell. Real quick, board, there's a couple things I haven't been able to share with you on what's happening at the state level for our personnel. In the pre-K programs, you have to have a certified teacher next year. You don't have a certified teacher, you cannot have a pre-K program. Period, end of story. No longer can we have a substitute in there. That's going to affect a couple schools where they can't, and the teachers are not willing to go back and get their degrees or get an alternative license. We are fighting another battle right now. I shouldn't say fighting. We're having an open discussion with the PED on pre-K at Parkview They are now requiring that our special ed teachers in the 3-year-old program, no longer do they have to have early childhood. Many years ago, like 7 or 8 when I was back, we had special ed teachers in the 3-year-old programs. They said, no, they have to be early childhood certified. So we got the early childhood certified. Now they're coming back and say they have to be early childhood certified and special ed. And I'm gonna tell you right now, for us to find the teachers to meet that, Maria's gonna give you a report on the staffing downs that we have right now. This is gonna have a huge impact on the district. We're required by law to serve our 3 and 4-year-old, the 3-year-old program, and those that transition from 3-year-old program to the 4-year-old program. So we've had a lot of meetings on this and trying to figure out the right solution for the state. We've been on the phone with the state at least once a week, trying to resolve some issues and the number of class sizes. So we'll keep you informed of that. At that being said, Maria.
I think you have in your packets the reports. We're in the process of aligning talent ed, the recruit and hire postings. You should have a copy that looks like this, to make sure that the postings that are on there are the correct ones. So I'm doing that on an individual basis with the principals, as well as making sure that those are aligned with Chad's records as well as STARS, because we do seem to have some discrepancies. And then you've got a one-pager that looked like this of just the certified positions. And again, this is based on the postings that we had on Talent Ed. But what we're finding on our Talent Ed platform is that some of the jobs were being duplicated, and then some of them were not recurring when they were still open positions. So I would say be a little bit patient. We're going to get that cleared up, but it's going to take just a little bit of time, and we do want that accuracy on there.
And one other bit of information that I've just finished the 40-year study of the school district. I'm still missing 2 years that I didn't have the data. But right now, our elementary enrollment, this is going to have a big impact to our middle school and high school, particularly the high schools down the road, is we have the biggest number of elementary kiddos enrolled since it says 94, 95, but you gotta remember we had 6th graders in at that time. So it's actually gonna go back almost to 1980. We were at one point down to 3,000 elementary kiddos. We're now at the 120th day, over 5,500 kiddos. We're gonna have to make I hate to tell you this, we're gonna have to make some changes in our elementary. Our buildings are already full, and I know they're brand new. But we already are gonna run out of space because the state didn't allow us to have an extra classroom or 2 in that process. So we're gonna be back at portables, as you probably already starting to see portables at some of our buildings. So I'm not letting Chad get rid of our portables because I'm afraid they're gonna go back out. For example, at Valley View next year, we won't have the pre-K program. It's not gonna be an empty classroom. It's because we're gonna have to put another teacher out there. That is our biggest elementary at this point in time. So we're already looking at where the discrepancies are in class sizes for next year. So I will send you, hopefully I can find those 2 years, then I'll send out to you a 47-year picture of the school district. Ms. Ponce helped me start that up a long time ago. So I've carried that on when I carried through all those years, and then it kind of got dropped, so I'm missing 2 years I can't seem to find, but we'll get them somewhere. So I wanted to give an update for the board to understand that our enrollment is increasing. So when Mr. Nava comes up and says it's hard to get across town, it's hard to get across town. We can see it by the student population, which is going to affect you. Brundle Mid right now is our biggest middle school. It's 754, I think the last time I looked at Brendo Mid, and then your next one is Sierra, and there's 6, somewhere right there, followed by Mountain View and then Mesa. So what's gonna happen is they transition. You're gonna be looking at bigger classes down the road in the high school. Not only that, what that always means is then you gotta have more teachers for class sections, math, reading, science, social studies, as we're moving through this process. So just an FYI. Maria, anything else?
Take that into consideration because of the feeder schools, so yes.
We may have to look at redistricting.
Excuse me, ma'am?
So we may have to look at
I'd be looking at that
redistricting.
anyway.
The problem is your class sizes are large almost everywhere.
Everywhere.
And you have to look at your building capacity. For example, when you look at Dolores School, she may be 285, 300.
Around
250. But you can't put any more kids there at this time, because basically she's full. So you gotta remember, you got your class sizes according to where your building structure's at.
And most of our schools are landlocked.
So, yeah, well, look at what are you gonna do with Washington Avenue? When you remodel or build a new school, I don't know what the state's gonna do with that. I walked through that issue today. I mean, you have to be prior planning and thinking, okay, if you look at Washington Avenue, they're landlocked. Where are you gonna put portables? How are you gonna remodel or replace that school? I mean, there's some real issues for the board down the road when we get to that issue, Chad. Just, I won't be here, but just letting you know. I'm telling you. Because that's 5 years down the road. So the last, I always have to feel I have to remind the board that there's always something next on the session, and the board needs to be looking, what are you doing? And student population is one of those big issues that we have to always monitor for the state of New Mexico and for our kids, and particularly for our poor teachers in the classroom. That's it.
Other than that, y'all did have the personnel actions that was reflected with the changes this last month, and then the job fairs that we're going to start. We had 3 recruits. 2 of them have accepted positions. 1 declined, and then we're on the 24th. We're going to Oklahoma. We're doing 2 job fairs, and we try to be strategic when we schedule those, so that one trip we'll try to hit at least a couple of job fairs. The other thing that I did is we went back to check how many recruits we had in each of those job fairs to make sure that it was a good viable trip to make, and then we make sure that we have representation with both the elementary and secondary, and we'll have training for the principals or administrators that are going to be going, so that they will know how to answer the questions and how to set up the display. And there's nothing worse than not being able to help those recruits to know why they need to come to Roswell, right?
I'm sorry, Mr. President, members of the board, there is one other issue. The Equity Council, we had a good meeting with the state, 2 full days this past week. Andrea, Anita Walker, and I went to the meeting. I wish the state had set this up before they made any requirements, because the requirements that they set forth and what they've said now and the process that we're having to go through are different. I mean, no district statewide are gonna look the same at all. And it should be that way. They were trying to make everybody look alike, and I'll give you an example. Here you have Zuni, just take Zuni. They're dealing with just Zuni people. I mean, they have no difference, so they were making the requirements that didn't fit. And the Zunis were extremely unhappy with that. So just as we move forward, they have allowed the districts to look different. They gave us 3 models to look at, and the models were very different. However, they had a lot of parents and a lot of students on there, teachers and principals, because that's what it's affecting immediately. I know the board in April, we're going to look at an action item on that. I'm just telling you, it was very different. Many school districts had not moved forward at all. They just kept, they stopped what they were doing, hadn't gone that far. Hobbs had moved forward, Rio Rancho, Las Cruces. They were each very different in their approach and what they did. Outside of that, the charter schools and the rest of the school districts hadn't done much, because the word came out after the school board association meeting that we should stop what we're doing until we meet with the PED and the equity group that presented. They did an outstanding job on their presentation. So it gave us some ideas and things we need to move forward in that. So we'll have an action item for the board in April, board meeting. I hope that's it.
Okay. So, board, due to administrative oversight, just an error, we did not have an action item for board reorganization, so you see it's on the discussion item. So there's 2 ways to approach it. One is we can have a special called business meeting to do it. We can't do any voting, or we can't do anything, we can just have a discussion about this. The other is to wait till the next board meeting and do it. We're not breaking any rules by doing that, because it's our board and we do what we want. So, there's not basically, since we added the new policy last meeting, we aren't required to do this now, so we're okay. We aren't hurting ourselves by waiting till the next board meeting or having a special called business meeting.
Okay.
I said business meeting, that's fine.
Board meeting.
So I leave it to you guys to have a discussion, how you guys wanna handle it from here.
Me, myself, I think we ought to, let's wait till the next board meeting to reorganize. That's just me, it's 8 o'clock. Yeah,
Seize o'clock, is that what you just said?
I said it's 8 o'clock, and
Somewhere.
it's 8
It's
o'clock.
later than that.
It is actually.
Oh,
It
okay.
is.
So,
It's really 7.
if it's the will of the board to wait till the next board meeting, we'll make sure it gets on an action item at the next board meeting. Is that good for everybody?
Sounds good.
Okay, no need for a special called board meeting then.
Thank you.
That's good.
Yep.
All right, that's all I have. So we're gonna go into executive session. So notice is hereby given that the Board of Education of the Roswell Independent School District will meet in executive session pursuant to 10-15 -IH, NMSA section 10-15.1.H2 regarding limited personnel matters. May I have a motion to go into executive session regarding the acting superintendent's evaluation and contract?
So moved.
Okay, I have a motion made by Mona and a second made by James. Roll call, please.
Alan Getty,
Yes.
Mona Kirk,
Yes.
James Edwards,
Yes.
Hope Morales,
Yes.
Hilda Sanchez.
Yes.
You guys need a restroom break before we
of
get into
course.
the,
I'm
take a
sorry.
break.
The air conditioner didn't come on.
It did come on.
Well, let's do the meeting in here.
Oh, okay.
Me too.
Absolutely.
All right, you? They need to fix that. I'm thinking we're getting out of here by 8 o'clock. It's already going to be 9 o'clock.
Yeah, they haven't.
Too much time.
Who decided on that? On this?
The what?
On this, decided on that?
No. What happened is she didn't put it down at the last meeting. No. She forgets all the time. Hey, I'm just gonna that's what I've seen since I've been
Oh,
here.
because it happened after Friday, after Thursday or Friday.
Okay, if you look at the meeting, go back to the minutes of the last meeting, you told them to put it on, which we reorganized.
I know, she also called a hundred times that, but I don't know if they forgot it, they put that.
What did she call me? She called it. I'm just gonna tell you she forgot. Not on purpose.
Yeah.
I've already been on it here long enough.
Okay, 2 notes.
Yeah.
Okay. So what